All right, let's get right into it. So many of us are dreaming of running Starlink off-grid, on solar power. And it sounds simple enough, right? But here's the thing. There's a critical piece of the puzzle that almost everyone misses, and it's the number one reason these projects end up failing. So why is that? I mean, why do we keep seeing these awesome setups with expensive batteries and piles of solar panels that just can't seem to keep a Starlink running through the night? Well, I'll tell you, the answer has nothing to do with internet speed. It's all about a fundamental misunderstanding of how electricity actually works. And it all starts with something I like to call the 100-watt myth. You've probably seen this number thrown around everywhere online, but believe me, it is a massive oversimplification, and it hides the real challenge of what we're trying to do here. To really get this, we have to wrap our heads around one single concept: the continuous load. See, unlike a light switch you flip on and off, or a water pump you run for 10 minutes, Starlink is always on. It is constantly working, tracking satellites, holding that connection, and pulling power every single second of every single day. And that changes everything. This really gets to the heart of the whole problem. On the left, you've got that simple view most people have. They see a single number, 50 to 100 watts, and they think, oh, that's easy. But then on the right, that's the electrical reality. You've got to deal with huge startup spikes that can totally overwhelm your system. There's a hidden heater in the dish for cold weather you might not even know about. And the big one, it's not a temporary load, it's a 24/7 draw. The main takeaway here is we have to stop thinking in simple AC watts and start thinking about what the battery actually has to deliver, which is continuous DC current. But that simple watt number isn't just misleading. It's also hiding some pretty significant energy costs that are silently draining your battery in the background. And the first culprit might actually surprise you. Okay, so think of your inverter, that box that turns your battery's DC power into the AC power Starlink needs. Think of it as an energy tax collector. It's just not 100% efficient. So for every watt it actually delivers to your Starlink, it has to take a little extra from the battery as a conversion tax. It's a cost you have to pay. So how do we figure out what the battery really sees? Well, it's a pretty straightforward 4-step process. First, we start with that AC load. Let's just say it's 70 watts for now. Then we have to account for that inverter tax we just talked about. Next, and this part is absolutely key, we factor in our battery's voltage to figure out the actual DC current in amps being pulled straight from our battery terminals. And boom, here's the number that really matters. That seemingly harmless 70-watt appliance is actually pulling almost 7 amps of current from a 12-volt battery. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but that is a significant, non-stop flow of electricity. And it's that current that generates heat and puts a ton of strain on every single part of your system. Okay, so we've figured out the power draw, but the real enemy of any off-grid system isn't just power, it's duration. It's that relentless 24/7 battery drain. Remember, that 6.9 amps isn't just for a few minutes. It's happening constantly. Your battery never, ever gets a break. It's being drained while you're asleep, while you're at work. It never stops. This visual right here is the daily battle your system is fighting. That blue bar, that's the total energy your Starlink needs over a full 24-hour day. The orange bar, that's what a lot of people install, a battery they think is big enough, but it's really sized for just daytime use, not for carrying that entire overnight load. You can see right away, it's a losing fight. And as if that wasn't hard enough, there's another hidden drain. Your inverter itself uses power just by being turned on, even if Starlink is barely doing anything. We call this idle consumption, and it can be 10, 20, maybe even 30 watts. It's just another continuous load silently bleeding your battery dry. Now here's where it gets serious. When you get this math wrong, it doesn't just lead your internet shutting off. It leads to dangerous, real-world failure points. These are the classic mistakes we see over and over and over again. An inverter that's too small, so it just shuts down during those power spikes. Cables that are way too thin to handle that constant 7-amp current, so they get dangerously hot. No fuse protection, which means there's nothing to stop a catastrophic failure. And finally, constantly over-discharging your battery, which will permanently kill it. Let me be perfectly clear about the risk here, because this is no joke. That high, continuous DC current flowing through wires that are too thin is a serious, serious hazard. Thin wires overheat. When they overheat, the insulation melts and fails. And that's how you get a fire. This isn't about convenience, folks. This is about safety. Okay, That was the bad news. But the good news is we can absolutely design a system that works and works safely and reliably. We just have to stop designing for the myth and start designing for reality. So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. You have to change your entire mindset. Stop thinking of Starlink as just another appliance you plug into the wall. You have to treat it as what it is, a constant demand system that places a unique and relentless load on your entire solar setup. And here's exactly how you do it. This is your checklist for reality. Number 1, fuse your system right at the battery. Always, no exceptions. 2, use thick cables that are properly rated for the actual DC current, not the AC watts. 3, actively monitor your battery's state of charge to protect it from damage. And finally, number 4, size your battery bank for the full 24-hour load and then add a safety margin on top of that. So, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about for your own project. Are you building a system based on that simple, best-case number you saw in a forum somewhere? Or are you building a robust system that's actually designed for the 24/7 reality of a continuous load? Because, honestly, the answer to that question will determine whether your system thrives or fails.